It's week 5 of the 2023 NFL season, and you know it's time for us to break down the action. Biggest storylines, matchups to watch, and game predictions. All of that next. Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parsons, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL, my national scout over with the Draft Network. And guys, happy Friday. Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. But I got to kick it over to my partner, my guy, Keith Sanchez, Mr. LSU, the champ himself. You can find him and follow him on Twitter at The Talent Code. Keep talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? This is Keith Sanchez, senior draft analyst with the Draft Network, man, in 2019 national champ with those LSU Tigers, man, here to bring you that championship level content with my guy, DP Damian Parsons, man, your dynamic duo for everything NFL draft and everything surrounding NFL draft. So you know what that means? That means college football. That means NFL football. That means you come here if you want to hear the best football information that you can possibly get, man. Our mission is to educate and entertain, and that's what we're going to do on today's show. DP, man, we're talking biggest storyline. We're talking matchups to watch. We're talking game predictions. So make sure y'all stay tuned the entire show. But DP, before we get started with the biggest storylines of the week 5 of the NFL season, why don't you hit them with our title sponsor?
This episode brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code, all lowercase, LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Keith, when you look at the slate of games, we look at week 5 of the NFL and all this other stuff, man, when you think biggest storylines, what stands out to you heading into this week, Keith?
DP, this is the NFL draft show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's quarterbacks, right? And I'm looking at all of these quarterbacks that's in make or break situations in a sense, because I look at this NFL schedule, DP, right? And it's really perception based, right? Because you have which should be a really good situation, but you have the Jags at the Bills, right? So you're talking about Trevor Lawrence, right? Where is he at in his career? We say that he's on a really good trajectory, but has had a couple of disappointing losses. But I go to Kenny Pickett, right? Like he's playing against the Ravens, right? And we know how it was split decisions on Kenny Pickett, right? Then I'm looking at Zach Wilson with the Jets. Can he follow up on, with that performance, right? And then you also have Brock Purdy playing against the Dallas Cowboys. So DP, I'm looking at these quarterbacks because it's we're going to say this and we're going to continue to say this. This is a really deep quarterback class. So it's how many teams are like, you know what? Let's just take the swing on a quarterback, right? So I think the threshold for trying to be a starting quarterback next year, right, or trying to prevent your team from drafting a quarterback is going to be higher than ever. Your player is going to have to be higher than ever because it's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that teams may feel like could be my starter. So you have to kind of play yourself out of there because there's going to be so many quarterbacks in that conversation.
No, that's a good point, Keith. It's a lot of it's crazy because I tweeted out, just watching some Jaden Daniels, yesterday morning. And I was like, man, we talked about him, like probably throws the best slot fade in this draft. Like his deep ball accuracy is really good, and just people kind of commenting and talking amongst other people, and it's like just on Twitter, and it's like what, like this quarterback class for the 2024 NFL draft is really deep. It's a lot of talent, and it's not like how we've looked at some of the previous classes. Like, well, we got talent, but there's no production, like not enough production to go with that talent.
Yeah,
these guys are balling.
Even last year, let's be honest, right? The Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, for the hype that came into that season, that was fairly disappointing from a production standpoint. I think C.J. is probably the only one that probably checked the most boxes as far as living up to the hype and then making it to the playoff game and then having the numbers to match, because Bryce Young numbers went down, right? Like in his last year, didn't make the playoffs either, right? Anthony Richardson that was all bad in Florida. Will Levis, right? That was the excuse train over there. So it was fairly disappointing. But this year, like we're seeing numbers on top of numbers on top of stats on top of stats. Each week is one guy emerging. Like there's a quarterback in Missouri that's 5-0 right now that's leading the country, maybe in passing yards or something like that, right? That's about
He's
to play,
up there,
that's about to play an LSU defense that is bad. So who knows how that's about to go, DP. So yeah, I'm looking at these NFL quarterbacks and these matchups that I think there's going to be storylines of the tide is going to change from the perspective of some of these teams are like, hey, you may not be the guy. And I think teams are starting to make that decision, a la the New York Giants.
No, Giants, you got to look at the Packers, the Raiders. It's a couple teams here, Keith, that the Falcons, right? You got the Bears. It's a couple
bases,
teams,
right?
Pittsburgh, in my opinion, too.
Yeah, the fan bases. The more we talk about how good this quarterback class is, the more the fan base
looking
like,
you know what?
I've seen enough. Let's go get one.
You ain't showing me nothing, big fella. Listen, I ain't got no problem replacing. Fans are detaching the heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? So I look at this class, Keith, and I agree with you, man. Like these quarterbacks need to show up, right? And I know Kenny Pickett has the bone bruise in the knee. They said he's trying to play. I'm not sure if he's going to play, right? But like, if I was him, like, I don't know if I would go risk it. I maybe rest a week and then come back next week. But it's a divisional game. I think you got one win on the season, so I kind of get it, right? Keith, but to that point, man, like it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see who plays well, who doesn't, and then like it's crazy because we're going into week 5. Keith, we got a couple more weeks until a lot of fan bases like, all right, show me the mock drafts. What you got, Draft Network? Show me what you listen. Who I need to be paying attention to? Like my quarterback is not getting the job done. What quarterback could be in range right now? Where are we selecting if the draft was today? Fans are about to go off the deep end in just a couple weeks, Keith.
DP, it already started in New Orleans. DP, I had a couple of my family members and people I talked to. The Saints are only 2-2. They're not bad. They're in playoff contention percentage wise. They're like, you know what? Just forget the season. Let's go get Caleb Williams. And it's like, we're going to go this far already.
What is going on?
We're going this far. So
hey, everybody pump your brakes. You all cannot have Caleb Williams. He's one man. Only one team can draft this young man. But Keith,
if he decides to come out.
Right, if he just because he already listen, man, I would not be surprised to see him pull a Eli if the Chicago Bears got the first and second pick. Like, you know what, man? Let me just save y'all trouble. I'm not coming there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to do it, but we'll see. I think for me, Keith, I'm looking at this matchup. Denver hosting the New York Jets. Remember the comments from Sean Payton, right? Talking about how bad of a coaching job Nathaniel Hackett did. Now, as a disclaimer, he was absolutely correct. Nathaniel Hackett was not good for Denver last year, right? You know me, I had Denver in my region last year, and what I would do, come on the meetings. I'm like, I don't know why they're running 21, 22, and 23 personnel with Russell Wilson. This is not what he excels at, right? And the offense just looked bad. It looked horrible. Situational football was bad, everything. Now you fast forward to 2023, and we think Sean Payton's going to fix some things. Well, not so much, right? And so this is the Sean Payton, Nathaniel Hackett Bowl, where I feel like these two are going to try to out-coach each other on offense. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sean Payton pulling out some tricks out the hat, going full-blown magician. I got a rabbit here. I got a sleeve here. I wouldn't be surprised to see him like, you know what? I want to embarrass y'all because all this smack that's been talked, right? Aaron Rodgers, don't keep my guy's name out your mouth. Well, Aaron, you got a torn Achilles. You can't be talking no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be saying. Nobody cares. But like Robert Saleh, this like, you know how they tried to hype up the Dan Lanning Coach Prime handshake? I want to see this handshake at the end of the game. I want to see how this goes because that's my biggest storyline. Is these are two teams that clearly I think there's gonna be some animosity there. And I'm gonna say something, Keith. I think Sean Payton wants Caleb so bad that he don't really care how this whole season goes.
I mean, I could see that. And he was one of the first. Well, he wasn't coaching at the time, right? But he was. I think it was on Colin Coward when when he talked about that. But DP, I like your angle, right? And he talking about this because it's a little bit messy, right? There's some drama that could be kind of pulled from them. But DP, if I'm Sean Payton, right, and I look at the Jets situation, and I see Nathaniel Hackett. I'm about to face Nathaniel Hackett and Zach Wilson. And I say, I ain't scared. That's what I said. I say, I ain't scared. I'm just sitting there like, I am A-okay. Like, I'm gonna be all right. I think we're gonna be okay. Now, listen, Russ, I don't know how many points you're gonna score, right? But I think we'll be able to contain this offense. That's exactly how I feel, DP. If I'm Sean Payton, I feel like I am A-okay. I am ready to move forward and ready to keep the thing going, man. But DP, speaking of keep it going, keeping it flowing, man, we have to transition to our next segment, man. We're talking about what matchups to watch, right? Not storylines, but matchups to watch. So we're gonna get into with these big time games because I think this seems like a fairly entertaining game, right? You got the Cowboys, 49ers, you got the Jags, you got the Bills. So you have some really fun games going on. Now we're gonna tell y'all in those big time matchups, right? Who to watch, what matchups to watch that could determine this football game.
Guys, Bird Dogs make me look good. I believe they'll make you look good as well. Their stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg, give you a truly sculpted look. All right. Their shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon's, but they fit way better. They fit way better than the regular shorts that we're accustomed to, made out of that stiff, restricting cotton, because Bird Dogs use a cloud knit fabric that looks like the khakis, but they stretch to give you that way slimmer fit through the leg, thigh, and everything else without sacrificing the movement. And they have and use an anti-stink and sweat wicking fabric that will keep you cool and dry all day long. And their shorts are functional for any occasion: golfs, dates, evening out, pool, working out, whatever. You will love it because it fits all of those opportunities and all of those situations. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL or enter the promo code LockedOnNFL at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL for a free water bottle at checkout. You will not want to take off your Bird Dogs, we promise you. Keith, is there a bigger matchup to watch than in that San Fran Dallas game? The run defense for Dallas versus Christian McCaffery had 4 touchdowns last week. I was playing him in fantasy. I had a big game, Lamar Jackson. I won. Don't get it wrong. I won that matchup. I'm 3-1 right now. But I was sweating a little bit because I looked and saw 40 points on McCaffrey alone. I was like, oh, bro, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if there's a bigger matchup with a game within the game this week than how the Dallas Cowboys will handle CMC.
Yeah, it should be fun, and you know what the Dallas Cowboys, what it comes down to, and that's why I appreciate Fred Warner, right? Because he's a true middle linebacker. In the Cowboys, we don't know if we have a true middle linebacker to match Christian McCaffrey, right? In situations, Michael Parsons is on a Hall of Fame trajectory, right? As an edge rusher. He plays linebacker sometimes, but he's an edge rusher, right? Like, now you need that guy that can flow sideline to sideline, because it's almost like you need one more piece, right, for the Cowboys. Because like if you put Michael Parsons at linebacker, but then you need him at edge rusher. And if you put him at edge rusher, then you need him at linebacker, right? The 49ers have the benefit of having Bosa, and then we have Fred Warner. Y'all both stay right there, right? Like they can approach it from that perspective, DP. But no, I agree with you. And this is going, I'm expecting this to be the same thing, because I'm watching ESPN, right? And they're talking about this is all going to come now to Dak Prescott. Well, it's like, yeah, if he plays bad, then fine. But this 49ers team is good enough to where Dak Prescott can play solid, right? And then they still can lose the football game because of how they're offensively orchestrated, talking about the 49ers. And you're talking about matchups, right? The matchup for me is this Cowboys defense, because and I think they do have physical players, right? I like the Donovan Wilson, but Trayvon Diggs being out is going to show huge in this situation. Yeah. But then also I'm looking at this interior defensive line for the Cowboys, right? Because I think they brought over big Jonathan Hankins, right? And then it was Mozzie Smith, I believe. Mozzie Smith they drafted out of Michigan, but then you have DeMarcus Lawrence, and a couple of those guys.
Also Odigizua.
Yeah, Osi Odigizua. Yeah. So, but I want to know how they're going to hold up in the run game and the run game discipline, because we've said it, right, with the 49ers is that, and this is not a Brock Purdy conversation, but Brock Purdy hitting his first and second reads, or allowing the run game to, really be his fallback plan, or really be the foundation of everything he does. So if you're going into the game, you're going like, okay, we're going to stop the run. Then it's like, okay, can y'all stop the run to the tune of forcing Brock Purdy to have to score?
Yeah.
And that's my biggest thing. We can say maintain it, but the 49ers offense, defense, or just how they complement each other have shown that, like, hey, if you contain it enough, that's fine. We can contain and get to 21, and then we know your offense is not scoring 21 points. That's the dangerous part about this, is that you can't just contain this run game. You have to stop it to make Brock Purdy beat you.
No, 100%. And I think that's going to be a big matchup, because when you give Brock Purdy that what do I always talk about with Bryce? When we talk about Bryce, right? Bryce is a point guard. Same thing with Brock Purdy. People think I hate Brock Purdy. I don't hate the young man. I think he's a solid NFL player. I don't believe the hype, right? I don't believe he's a top 10 or top 12 quarterback, because a top 10 or top 12 quarterback can fit into any situation and help elevate it and make it better, right? I don't see that with him, but he's a point guard. He's a point guard that has a ton of shooters, right? This guy got, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, who I want him to keep feeding because he's on my fantasy team. You know what I mean? Of course, you got Christian McCaffery, and McCaffrey's just he's like Steph Curry for this offense. McCaffrey's the best player. It's not George Kittle. It's Christian McCaffrey. And if you can't slow this thing down, Brock Purdy is going to nickel and dime you to death. And he'll be able to make one of those kind of really good throws down the field, 15, 20 yards, kind of drive it there into a nice big window off the play action. But man, he's just going to be efficient, and he's going to efficient you to death, and you're going to lose this game. But Keith, another matchup I'm looking at, man. Go ahead.
No, I have one. I want to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a huge one. The Jaguars at the Bills. The Jags are 2-2 right now. The Buffalo Bills are red hot. As soon as they left New York, they started balling, man, because they are steamrolling teams right now, right? And they put the back-to-back weeks. I think was the Commanders and then the Dolphins, right? Like, and they close to 40 points, over 40 points back-to-back games. So they are rolling right now. And you're talking about a Jaguars team, DP, because it's Josh Allen who has consistently proven that at quarterback in talking about regular season, right? Like, he's put together 3 to 4 seasons of 30 plus touchdowns and playoffs and things like that. And then you have Trevor Lawrence, who we feel like has the talent, right? He was the generational term that you love so much. But we're waiting for the next step, right? And this was supposed to be the step, but starting off 2-3, I wonder how that is going to go. So that I feel like this is kind of somewhat of a inflection point, especially with the fact, DP, that we talked about, the Houston Texans are playing much better than what people thought. The Indianapolis Colts are playing much better than what people thought. So I'm going to say, I think that matchup, DP, is probably just as big. I would put it equally as big of a matchup, because if they go in there and beat Buffalo, then now you're having a different conversation about the Jags. Is okay, when everything is together, are they the second best team in the AFC versus are the Jags going to make the playoffs? I think it's going to be that wide of ranging of when we cut whatever happens Sunday, when we cut the TV on Monday, it's going to be that variance of conversation.
No, and Keith, you talking about matchups within the matchup, right? The most exciting, the biggest matchup is, can you stop or slow down Stefon Diggs? Stefon Diggs, Keith, week 1, right? He 10 for 102 in the touchdown. Week 2 against the Raiders, he was 100% completion, right? He was 7 for 7, 66 yards, no touchdown. Week 3, 8, 111, 0 touchdown. Then against Miami, I don't know what Miami was doing. I don't know what they were doing defensively. 6 for 120 and 3 touchdowns. This man has 4 touchdowns in the season. 3 came last week. So you talk about putting that onus on Tyson Campbell and then the young man Darius Williams, who was, I think, spent a couple years with the Rams, if I remember correctly, trying to be able to slow him down in Stefon Diggs, because that's the key to kind of trying to slow down Josh Allen. If you stop Diggs, then you force the others to beat you. Right? We hear that. We typically hear that term in basketball, right? Stop LeBron James before he had AD. Make the others beat you, right? And it's like, that's what you have to do with Buffalo. But if you don't slow down Diggs, Josh Allen's going to have a day.
Yeah, and DP, I'm looking at, I want to go, because this is the draft podcast, right? It's a draft show, so we talk about it. We talked about Trevor Lawrence and what his draft expectations were, right? But I want to talk about this Jacksonville Jaguars team, because they should be a team that's set up to dominate in the future, right? Because you're looking at guys like they drafted Travis Etienne, right? Then they drafted Tank Bigsby. Then we're looking at, right, the offensive line with that's Anton Harrison, Luke Fortner. But you look on this defensive side of the football, and it's kind of, you want to say, okay, where y'all at, right? Like that's your conversation. Where y'all at? Because Devin Lloyd
Josh Allen is showing up, but you need Trayvon Walker and the rest.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Exactly, DP. I was just about to get to that point. I was going to start with Devin Lloyd and Chad Moomer, right? But yeah, Trayvon Walker, and we had this. We never got to talk about it on this podcast because we wasn't doing the podcast at this time, right? But consistently putting Trayvon Walker on the edge. I didn't think when he came out, I didn't think that Trayvon Walker was an edge guy. I thought he was an interior defensive lineman. I thought that he had the potential to create the same type of havoc that Jalen Carter is creating, playing the interior defensive line position. I believed in put him in an athletically advantageous situation. I think on the edges, he's cool. He can do it, but that's not where he's best at. He's best at as an interior defensive lineman. So I hope that they figure that out, because you're talking about a number 1 overall pick that y'all spent on him, and you're not getting number 1 overall pick production, DP. Well, speaking of production, right, we're talking about game predictions, and I think I was productive last week in my game predictions, DP. So, man, coming up next, man, we're going to get into our favorite segment, man, because DP talking about he's beat me, he's up this many games and stuff.
We got a new graphic. I'll have that graphic on social media with the updated numbers.
All right, cool. I can't wait to see it. But, man, we're going to get into the game predictions for this upcoming week. Like we said, we have a lot of exciting matchups. We talked about 2 to 3 of them, but, man, there's a whole lot of them. So make sure y'all stay tuned so you can hear our game predictions.
Today's episode of Locked On NFL Draft is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Guys, Prize Picks is simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the number 1 daily fantasy sports app. I can tell you now, I'm going for this week on Prize Picks. I'm going into the college realm. I'm taking Devin Leary versus Georgia for less than 184.5 passing yards, while I'm also taking quarterback J.J. McCarthy for the Michigan Wolverines versus Minnesota for over 218.5 passing yards. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. It's time to pick these games, Keith, and we got to start right at the top, right? London game, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, Sunday morning, Jacksonville. They stayed 2 weeks, basically, because they played last week against the Falcons, so they kind of got used to the time zone difference. The Buffalo Bills are now in town. Who are you picking in this game, Jacksonville or Buffalo?
DP, I got to get this off my chest real quick. I'm sorry. But what are we doing? Jacksonville versus Buffalo. We're going to put this at 8:30 in the morning when we've had all these bad primetime games? Oh, we serious talking about a Sunday where people go out on Saturdays and go enjoy themselves, and we're going to put this on a Sunday? I had to get that off my chest, DP. You know the type of primetime games we've had to watch? We've had to watch a Aaron Rodgers-less Jets versus the Chiefs, right? We've had to watch the Raiders versus the Steelers, DP. We've had to watch the Cowboys beat up on the Giants, DP. And we've had to watch some bad football, DP. But okay, I had to get that off my chest. Who am I going with? That's the question, right? Who am I going with? I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Bills.
I'm going Bills too. They're red hot, man. I this offense for Jacksonville is sputtering a little bit, right? They don't look as in sync and in tune, and I think they could look better in a couple of weeks, by midseason. But I got to go Buffalo to be the victor here. Keith, next up we have the Houston Texans at the Atlanta Falcons. Desmond Ridder, C.J. Stroud. Who you picking?
Texans are they're rolling right now. I think they're gonna get it done. They're gonna outscore the Falcons. I think they're gonna outscore the Falcons and just simply get the job done. Like the Falcons are solid, but like you said, you think there's a cap to their offense. I'm going with the Houston Texans. I think C.J. Stroud continues to roll.
Yeah, I don't think it's that hard to outscore the Falcons. They can't pass the ball right now. So I'm going Houston Texans as well. C.J. Stroud gets this team above 500. They go to 3-2. So shout out to the Texans, man. Let me get Houston. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers, the winless, the 0-4 Carolina Panthers at Detroit. Jameson Williams is back in this lineup, Keith. Detroit.
Football, right? I know that's the
You could have said
basketball chat, but
basketball.
I'm
It's
going
fine.
Detroit. Detroit's gonna win this football game.
Yeah, I'm listen, man. Carolina looks like a mess right now. You know what I mean? They look like an absolute mess. They talking about trying to trade for number one wide receiving. Good luck, guys. Good luck. You don't have a win right now. I don't see that happening. You're going to lose again this week. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans coming off a big win over Cincinnati Bengals at home versus the Indianapolis Colts. We're seeing good things from Anthony Richardson in that offense. Jonathan Taylor should be playing this week or playing this game. We'll see. Who you picking in this game, Keith?
DP, this should be a fun one. This actually should be a very interesting game. I'm going to go with the Colts at home. I think they pull out this win. This Anthony Richardson run game. I think Shane Steichen is going to lean into that. This is going to be a physical matchup. The Titans are usually good in the beginning of the year because they're healthy and Derrick Henry isn't beat up, right, and things like that. So I'm gonna go with Indianapolis Colts though, because I think this would be a good game.
Yeah, I'm going Colts as well. I do. I think it's going to be a close game. You know, we know that defensive line with Jeffrey Simmons and them boys for the Tennessee Titans is tough. We know that the run game is legit with Derrick Henry. They're getting him on track again. But I do think what we saw, what we've seen from Anthony Richardson, they just got to get everything start faster. And I think if they do that and put that pressure, make Ryan Tannehill play quarterback for 4 quarters and see how that whole thing goes. But I'm gonna think that they can protect home field. We had the New York Jets at the Miami. I don't even know why I'm finishing that. Miami.
Yeah, the Giants at Miami, the Dolphins. The Dolphins probably gonna go for another 40 plus again, right?
They're probably gonna play pissed off after what happened in Buffalo. And
yeah
I'm going 100%. I'm not even going to worry about the Giants at all. Next up, we got the New Orleans Saints going into New England to face the Patriots. Keith, who you picking in this matchup?
This is tough because the Saints have been offensively, they've been bad. They honestly these are almost mirror teams because they both have pretty solid defenses, and then the offense is just not clicking. But I'm gonna go with the Saints to edge this out because I was about to say because of Derek Carr, but Derek Carr's shoulder is kind of hurt also. I'm gonna still just roll with the Saints in a close one. You got the Patriots trading for J.C. Jackson because Christian Gonzalez out, things like that. I just think the Saints have roster-wise and their depth chart is better than what the New England Patriots are offensively, and I think they make a couple more plays.
100%. Next up, I'm going with you as well, by the way. I'm going Saints. I think, you got Chris Olave, no Christian Gonzalez. Can J.C. Jackson come back to form with Bill Belichick? Maybe, but I'm going with the Saints as well, Keith. I hate watching Mac Jones lead this New England Patriots offense. Yeah, go ahead. Let me get them Saints, man. The Saints come marching in. Next up, we got the Baltimore Ravens going into Pittsburgh. Keith, potentially Kenny Pickett. No Kenny Pickett. We'll see. I don't really think it matters, Keith. I don't think it matters at all. I think the Baltimore Ravens continue to roll, go to 4-1, and put a stranglehold over this division that is the AFC North right now.
I agree. Same exact thing. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
You know what I'm saying? We pretty much picking the same teams here. I see your strategy.
Strategy.
Next up, we got the Philadelphia Eagles going in to face Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford, and the Los Angeles Rams. Are the Eagles going to stay undefeated, Keith?
I think they do. I think they squeak out a close one. The Rams, they're playing inspired football right now. Like I said, when everybody thought that they potentially could be tanking and moving on from McVay and Stafford. But I'm going to go Eagles with this. I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to go Eagles with this.
I'm going upset. I'm going Rams, Keith. I think at home, and it's 2 rookies, man. But of course, Puka Nacua, right? Being the volume pass catcher for Matthew Stafford. Wait, Matthew Stafford got the hip. Yep, I'm going Eagles. I just thought about the hip. Nope, I can't do it because Jalen Carter. No, I'm not doing this. Like I wanted to go. I wanted to go there, but the rookies to watch, Puka Nacua, but also Byron Young from Tennessee. He's been playing very good football.
Winning off just another good football player. But we'll continue, DP. That's why we say everything starts with the draft.
It just starts with the draft. So I'm gonna go Eagles because that hip injury. I don't know how much that's going to hamper the movement ability of Matthew Stafford. Next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals and what Joe Burrow calls a must-win game versus the Arizona Cardinals. Keith, you going with Joe Cool or not?
DP, this is not a must win. This is a you better win this, right? And this even if you were 4-5, you better beat the Arizona Cardinals. This is not a must win. This is a you better win. But I'm gonna go to Bengals because they better beat the Cardinals. But the Cardinals they're a team that's playing inspired football. And that's the thing about playing these bad teams early. They still believe they're good, right? So you get good efforts 100%. Out of them. That's the tough part about playing bad teams early. They still feel like, hey, we can still do something. So I think it'd be a good game. They better win this game. They better win this football game.
I'm with you. This is a you better win for sure. I'm picking the Bengals. I think that they'll be able to. I think it could be a close game though. I saw some clips of Joe Burrow at practice. He looks like he's moving a little bit better, not as gingerly as he has been the past couple of weeks. So hopefully he's on the uptick with his health and with that calf strain. So I'm gonna believe in Joe Cool in this offense one more time against them Arizona Cardinals. Next up, the game we talked about in segment 2, or in the first segment, I believe it was, the New York Jets at the Denver Broncos. Denver coming off their first win. Russell Wilson's playing good football this season as well, Keith. It's getting overshadowed because of their record, but he hasn't been the reason they've been losing, right? It's been Vance Joseph and that defense. But Keith, who you picking to win this game?
I'm going to go Denver. Uninterested Denver. Like by my uninterested, I'm going to go Denver.
This man said uninterested Denver. I'm going Denver as well. If Zach Wilson plays the way he played against Kansas City, they got a shot. They got a legit shot because Vance Joseph's going to call the worst game of his life like he do every other week. But you know what I mean? I think Russell Wilson and company can get this dub. Next up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs on the road versus the Minnesota Vikings coming up off of their first win over the Panthers. Who you picking, Keith?
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm going Kansas City as well. This is a couple teams is about to be, heading towards that top of the top 10. We might see a whole run on quarterbacks by the time we get to the draft, Keith. Sunday Night Football, man. Dallas, the game of the week. Dallas at San Fran, night game. Keith, who are you picking?
Picking the 49ers. You thought I was about to see the Cowboys.
I thought you were going.
No, I'm picking the 49ers. The 49ers are probably going to win this game, and then we're going to have a conversation about the Cowboys come Monday.
Like they always do on in the media and social media. I'm picking San Fran as well. I think if this game was in Dallas, I would probably pick the Cowboys. But since it's at home, that crowd's gonna be loud. It's gonna give that offense some trouble. And just being there, it depends if that offensive line is healthy too. Right? Can you keep Nick Bosa away from Dak Prescott so he can effectively distribute the football? I don't know if they can, Keith, so I'm going to pick San Fran as well. Last up, Monday Night Football, Green Bay at the Las Vegas Raiders, Keith. Jordan Love, probably Aiden O'Connell, unless Jimmy G is able to come back off the concussion. Who you picking?
DP, I had my rant about the primetime games at the beginning of this podcast.
This is part of that.
This is one to just go ahead and throw in this bucket. I'm gonna go to Packers. I'm gonna go to Packers because obviously Jimmy Garoppolo is not. That's not even a valid point, right? Because Jimmy Garoppolo is 150 yards and 1 touchdown type of quarterback. But the Raiders haven't even gotten Josh Jacobs going, right? And so I'm not. With that,
game, at least.
I'm gonna go Packers, yeah, and it's just with these young guys, NFL Draft Podcast, right? And your Luke Musgraves, your Dontavian Wicks, your Jaden Reeds, Jordan Love, right, being a guy that was drafted a couple of years ago. All those guys gonna show up. Zach Tom being a guy that was drafted a couple of years ago. So all of these guys, Sean Ryan, right? The Packers have a lot of young guys, just even on the offensive side of the football. So I'm gonna go Packers.
100%. It'd be a nice matchup for whoever sees Jacorian Bennett, the rookie corner from the Raiders, who's playing pretty solid football in his rookie year. And hopefully we get that matchup of Jair Alexander and Devontae Adams. That should be a good one. But I'm going Green Bay as well, Keith. I think their defense. I think Green Bay's defense is playing pretty decent right now with all the first-round picks they have. So I think they, especially if it's Aiden O'Connell, man. I just watched him got sacked like 15 times last week. So I'm going with the Packers as well.
Yep.
That's the slate, Keith. That's the slate.
That's the slate, man. And that wraps up another show of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, man. I want to end this show by saying thank you to our everydayers, man. Shout out to you guys for tapping in with us every single day. Your dynamic duo, the best football podcast that there is out there, man. Tell somebody to tell somebody. Tell a friend to tell a friend, man. Everybody come listen, man. Tomorrow we are going live for college football, right? We're talking college football on Saturday mornings. So after you kind of cut off the ESPN game, they come tap in with us for about 30 minutes, man, right before the game start to kick off. That is 9:30 Central Time, 10:30 Eastern. Come talk with you guys because we like to talk to y'all. And like we said, man, tweet at us because we tweet back.
Listen, go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Get the latest episode as soon as it's available. Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Thank you for being on every day. And like he said, YouTube Live tomorrow. We're going to be streaming live, previewing these games on college football Saturday, talking about prospects, all that good stuff. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.